Hello and good morning and welcome to SEO Bootcamp. I'm Josh Oakes and I'm excited to share with you today one of my resources, Ido Cohen. Now, as many of you know, a lot of people say, hey Josh, they come to me and say, I need tips on social media marketing. I want some grassroots ideas. I want to know how to make this more effective. I have my own team that I go to with questions. Sometimes I stumble and I go, okay, I need to figure this out. I need to zoom in and zoom out. I need a new technique. Ido is one of those people that I go to in the SEO world to get very, very advanced techniques. Now today Ido is going to break it down for us to give us tactical tips. But I go to Ido because he's a little bit different. There's a lot of misconception in social media. If you've watched our videos in the past, you know that I have a lot of counterintuitive techniques. I care about results. And in social media, those results are sometimes brought in by doing something very different. Ido is the same way. He has a great heat map technology company that you guys have seen me run in past videos. But he has also become an expert at SEO by providing counterintuitive ways to get Google to notice you. And Ido's going to share some of those counterintuitive ways with us today. Now, Ido is not just a guy I brought in off the street. He's somebody I value his opinion. I go to him with very important questions, so you're getting access to one of my advisors today. And now, Ido, I want to welcome you to the call. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you, guys. Wow, that's a very nice introduction. Thank you, Josh.
Well, I mean it. So I'm excited to have you here today. Now, what I'm going to do, Ido, is I'm going to let you, in the next 30 to 45 minutes, you gave us a basic run through in the past that people will have a video of, and it was the 3 pillars of SEO, I believe, that you walked us through. And people can walk through, let me give just a quick run through if I can, and then you're going to take it from there. Is that okay, Ido?
Yeah, that's great.
There's no magic behind SEO, Ido taught us in our last video. It's a lot of hard work. And he showed us in the past video, and everybody on this video, you can watch a previous SEO video of Ido doing this live in an hour. You have to know what you're doing. You have to spend a lot of time doing it. It really is like social media, where messaging is the key to social media, not buzzwords, not technology. You just got a little bit of old-fashioned elbow grease. The more hours you spend on SEO, the better it will work. Now, you have to have the right approach. Ido's giving that to us. Ido taught us on his last video the 3 pillars of SEO. Number 1, it was original content. Number 2, links leading to your website. Original content means messaging. Remember in social media, I taught you keeping your messaging light, bright, and polite and spending more time on your messaging will give you success. Well, it's also true in SEO. Links leading to your website are very important. And then on-page optimization. Ido today is going to give us a bunch of on-page optimization tips. He's also going to give us a couple title tag tips, some image descriptions, and a few blog things. It may get a little bit advanced for those that are on the call today. I encourage you, go make sure you watch that first video, and it's okay if you haven't. You can always come back and watch this one again. Pause it in any time. And on that last video, we taught keyword research, we learned how Google currently sees the site, and we found out exactly how to select new keywords to rank for. One of the biggest things in SEO that Ido is going to teach us today is that you can't make drastic changes and see a huge difference immediately. You should take this as a workout routine where you start going to the gym with the right weightlifting, the right eating, the right diet plan, and you will see changes over the course of 1 month to 6 months at great changes. But you can't expect to go to the gym at 4 p.m. in the afternoon and expect by 6 p.m. your whole body to be different. This is a slow and steady process. Now, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to transfer over to Ido. I'm going to swap presenters and let Ido go ahead and take over, continue to record, and we're going to let Ido teach us for the next 30 to 45 minutes. You guys are welcome to ask questions. I will relay them to Ido. Ido, it's all yours, my friend.
Great. Can you guys see my screen?
Yes, I believe everyone can see a screen. Can we get a yes in the chat box just to make sure everybody can see the screen? Great,
Okay.
thank you, Christina. Now,
So
Ito,
yeah,
Ito,
I'll just
one quick thing. If you scroll a lot, it's going to take a little while for everybody to see that because there's a lot of bandwidth. So just scroll slowly, and it's all yours.
okay, great. So we're going to today. Thanks again, all everybody for having me. And I think Josh really hit it on the head. We used there is a video that we recorded last time that talks a little bit about keyword research. And just to give you an idea of what a keyword is, I'll just define that very quickly for you. Basically, when you search for something on Google, that phrase is what we're considering our keyword. So different keywords have different volume, and meaning, if I were to search shoes, for instance, I bet there are millions and millions and millions of monthly searches for the word shoes, right? And if I were to search something like pink Nike Air size 12 shoes, there's probably maybe just a few hundred of those globally a month. So keywords range from being sort of big and broad that have a ton of volume to ones that are a little bit more specific. And usually the more specific ones have a slightly higher conversion rate. And you sort of want to find the balance in between. And we went over some of that stuff on the last call. But what I want to talk today is basically, what is SEO, and what we as small to medium-sized businesses, what can we do to actually compete? Well, the nice thing about Google is that it really does give people a fair shot. And you actually do have a very high chance of ranking higher than the really big players in the space. I mean, an example I use sometimes is some random bird watcher or blogger in Canada that happened to observe birds migrating across his backyard and might write a blog article about that. He might rank higher for bird migration in Canada than National Geographic's, which is a massive company. And so Google, really gives us a fair shot at being relevant and ranking higher than somebody who has more money and more presence online. So it gives us a really good opportunity to actually get noticed. But the key to getting noticed is being very focused in our approach.
Great.
Now, we don't have, let's take Media Leaders as an example, okay? We're on Media Leaders websites, and there are definitely a few things on this page that they can do to improve SEO. I'm only going to talk about two things on this call, because if I go over everything, it's going to take forever. But what I think are the two most important things you can do on your website, one is what's considered an H1 title tag. Now, that might sound a little bit fancy, but basically, a website is written in HTML. It's written in a programming language. And if you right-click on any page and you click on this View Page Source, you actually get to see the HTML of this website. If I do a quick search for H1 on this website, we can see that on this website, Josh doesn't have a H1 title tag. The H1 title tag that he has is basically connected to this image that's over here on this other page. But if you notice, he doesn't have a big title anywhere, right? Let me show you a website that does have a big title. This is a website that we just started helping on SEO about 3 months ago. We'll go to the top of their website. And this is an app that's used for weddings. And you can see that right here, they have a title that says, capture every photo taken at your wedding. Okay? Their keywords that they really want to rank for is wedding photo app. So you can see that they have wedding and photo in their title tag. And if I click to view their page source, and we look for an H1 tag, you can see right here it says H1. Can you guys see can you guys see the source?
Yeah, we can.
Okay. You can see right there on the source, you want to keep this thing short, specific, really just, simple. And you can see that there's, this thing is only 7 words long, and 2 out of the 7 are hyper focused on the keywords that they want to focus on, which is wedding photo apps.
So would you say that let's say our elevator speech with Google, if we were writing if we had to go from floor 7 to 6, and we only get a second and a half to talk with Google, that the H1 is our chance to go, Google, this is what I do and I want to pitch you in the elevator.
Exactly. So, but basically, Google gives your website. What is Google's job is to try to figure out what your website is all about.
Yeah.
Right?
And
That's the job of the search engine. So what we're SEO is basically what you're doing is you're taking your website and you're making it easy for Google to read.
mm-hmm.
And because we don't have the online marketing budget or presence or size of a company like Coca-Cola or IBM, what we want to do is we want to pick 2 or 3 keywords and focus all of our energy into those words. So Capsule, for instance, this website, it cannot rank for florist, for wedding planner, for software integration. It can't rank for everything, but it can rank for maybe just a couple broad phrases that are going to work for this. And that's basically what we're working on Capsule. So what you want to do with an H1 tag, and if you have a webmaster or you've made your website in WordPress or any other site, it's fairly easy to apply an H1 tag. And basically what you want to do is come up with a really good title and make sure you have an H1 tag on every page of your website. And you want to make sure that that H1 tag incorporates your keywords that you want to rank for, but you don't want to overdo it. You want to focus on just 1 or 2 on your title H1 tag on your homepage, just like Capsule did here. Photo and wedding. Those are the 2 big things that it wants to target. So that way we can start focusing on phrases like wedding photo app, capture my photos at my wedding. We want to capture those 2 words and integrate them, and that's why those 2 are in the photo app or in the H1 tag. The second thing I want to show you is labeling an image. One of the biggest mistakes that people make when they upload an image to their website, I wouldn't be surprised, Josh, I'm sorry to call you out on this, but I'm just going to click on one of these images.
Feel free. Yeah, go ahead. And,
so let's
I gave Ido a chance to say, Ido, pick us apart, because Ido's actually going to start advising my team on SEO. So now he's going to get the chance. Okay, this is cool. So when you say the image behind, you're basically saying what is the name of the file that's sitting on the server that's being displayed, and you're going to look at that right now. Is that correct?
Yes. So we're going to put that over here so we can see what your image is actually called.
Yeah. So we're going to put it in a new tab.
It looks like your image is called Microsoft Store Media Leaders Pinterest Bootcamp Tour Graphics Square 300 by 300.png. So that's what, if you were Google and you saw that, you saw this, the name of the image that looked like that, it would be a little bit confusing.
Yeah. So give me a tip. So
what you want to call this image is what I would, if I were you and you're looking to promote yourself as a social media advisor or consultant, I would label this image simply Pinterest Bootcamp, or just something simple like that. You want to just keep these things short and sweet and just focus on the keywords that are important to you. So I know that a lot of times people will name an image something that makes it easy for them to find on their computer.
Yeah. But
you don't want to do that when you're posting this on the website. Another thing that people a lot of times do is you'll go to their website and all the images are called .img36528, something like that. That makes really no sense.
True.
So you really want to make sure that you're labeling your images correctly. So those are the 2 on-page tips I'm going to give you today. Well, there's a lot of stuff you can do on page, and we'll go over them on another call. But
let me see if I understand this. Let me see if I reiterate it for everybody, because I want to make sure I get it as well. So right now I'm naming it Microsoft Store Media Leaders Pinterest Bootcamp. That's the name of the file that was sitting on my computer in Los Angeles. I then uploaded it to WordPress, and I went to WordPress and say, hey, WordPress, use this as one of my images in my blog, because people are going to RSVP, and it featured that image. But as Ido is saying up here, everyone that can see in this video, I'm highlighting over the Microsoft Store, the name, that Google looks at that image and looks at the title of it and says, Google's basically reading by Braille. It goes, I can't see the image, but I can see what the text of the image describes it as. So when people search, I'm seeing way too many keywords. And Google, as you taught us before, Ido, Google wants natural language because it can tell a faker a mile away. So if I just put Pinterest Bootcamp event, then it would be Google might be like, oh, well, that's normal and it's small and it's not packed full of fake keywords, so I kind of trust it.
That's exactly right. If you, for instance, if we go back over here to Capsule, I'm just going to keep using them as an example because we sort of told them what to do on their homepage.
Yeah.
But if this title tag was wedding photo app for weddings for photos, use the photos on the weddings, something like that, that just doesn't really make any kind of sense, and you can tell is jam packed with keywords.
Yeah.
That's something that Google's going to hate and probably penalize you for.
Now,
so you want to be smart in how you pick your H1 tags and how you label your photos, but you want them to correlate with one another. So if on Media Leaders, we would need, it's very important for Josh to have a title tag here. Maybe that's something along the lines of, social media,
So my title tag might be networking events and boot camps and webinars for professionals in marketing, advertising, and technology. That might be a little bit too, but it would probably be networking events and social media best practices.
Something like that. You want to tweak it, but then what you want to do is make sure that all of these images tie back to that. So then you would have an image that's called Pinterest Bootcamp event, Twitter Bootcamp event, and so essentially what you're doing there is you're confirming that your website is actually what you're talking about.
True.
You're making it really easy for Google to read.
Yeah, I love that. That's so true. That's so true. So let's. So what we've learned so far is H1 tag on every page of your site. You should have that H, which stands for header 1. We won't get into it too much, but H1 really tells Google, this is my elevator pitch. An H2 tag usually sits right below it. This is my subtitle. Many of you know that I have a book coming out soon. The book is called Light, Bright, and Polite. And that is the title in the book, really big. And then the subtitle is How Businesses and Professionals Can Safely and Effectively Navigate Social Media. And that would be the H2 tag. Then the H3 would be getting into, if we had to, some kind of a paragraph or something. And then the normal paragraph would be the content. Am I correct there?
Yes, exactly.
Okay,
so,
perfect.
Let me talk a little bit about content now that we're there. So I'm gonna tell you one of the nice things that we do at my company is we actually do a lot of experiments. We have several dozen websites that we get to test a lot of SEO stuff on and see what works and what doesn't. And so we actually have 2 blogs that we're running, and both of these blogs are not ones that we necessarily care about. They're not ones that make us money or are ones that that drive traffic or any kind of important stuff to our website. But we use them a lot for testing. And we had one blog where we were writing a new blog article every day, but we were writing it very quickly, and it was maybe 2 or 3 paragraphs long. And we had another blog where we were writing an article once every 2 weeks, but we spent a lot of time on it. And the blog articles were much, much longer. They were referencing, they had footnotes, they had a lot of images. And the interesting thing is that Google cares a lot more about quality than it does about quantity. And Google knows, the search engine is smart at this point. It knows, whether or not you're just writing a quick article to get something out there, or whether or not you're writing an article that's actually meaningful. And so, one of the things that I would highly recommend that media leaders have, which it doesn't have on their website, is a blog. A blog is a very important way to basically generate original content on your website. So let's go to Capsule and let's look at their blog, and let's look what they want to do. Remember, they want to target the wedding industry. So their blog is going to be, hopefully, very wedding specific. So let's go down to their blog. All right. So there's a couple things here that I'm gonna point out. There are first of all, I want you guys to pay attention to their domain address here. Do you guys notice that it's blog.trycapsule.com?
Very cool. Yeah, we see that on the upper left.
So one of the things that Capsule needs to change, and we recommended that they change, is that their blog be at www.trycapsule.com/blog.
I love it. Okay.
And let me tell you guys why.
Okay.
Google loves big websites. It means the more pages you have on a website, it likes that. Now, not fake pages and not duplicate content, but just it likes when you have a bigger website. It means that you're, especially when you're adding pages sort of slowly over time. It lets Google know that your website is growing and that there's somebody behind it, and that you're a real company. You're not just somebody that's, throwing up a website. And when your articles are on a subdomain, Google doesn't really consider that part of your website. So,
So blog.tricapsule.com is actually a completely different domain to to um, to Google. You're saying,
correct. It's considered two different domains. So even though they're linking to one another, so it still kind of shares the link juice. It's better to have it at tricapsule.com, and that way every one of these articles that I click on, if I click on one of the, basically each of these blogs becomes a page for Google, and so your site suddenly becomes significantly bigger.
yeah, that's great. Okay.
So that's sort of the second thing to think about.
Okay. So
Now, I want to go back, Josh. Can you pull up that presentation?
yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Let me go ahead and take over here real quick and take back over the presentation. Share my screen. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Okay, what would you like to go over?
Can you go to the 3 pillars of SEO?
Yeah, absolutely. Let me go back to that. 3 pillars of SEO. Original content, links leading to your website, and on-page optimization. Okay, go ahead.
So I'm sorry if I'm jumping around just a little bit, but I wanna just go back to this slide, because this is what I want you guys to really think about. Original content is what we just spoke about. The easiest way to generate original content on your website is with a blog.
Yes.
And the best way to make Google feel like it's part of your website is to make it www.yourdomain/blog. And that way, every new blog article that you write becomes /blog/article. And then your article is there. And so every time you write a blog article, you're essentially building your website with more and more and more original content. Do not ever, 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 ever either plagiarize, copy and paste another blog or another article into your blog, or use duplicate content. Don't ever have different pages on your website have the same exact content. Google knows when you do that, and it will penalize you heavily for that.
Imagine being at an event or hanging out with somebody where they keep telling you the same story, and they keep going, "Hey, did you know that I was nominated for an Academy Award when several years ago?" You're thinking to yourself at the cocktail party, "Holy crap, yes, I know that." And going forward, you're going to discount what they tell you because they duplicate themselves so much and tell you the same darn story about how great they are. Same thing with Google. Would you agree, Ido?
Yes, and also you got to remember that Google is in a constant battle between people that are real and people that are trying to cheat it.
True.
So the secret to SEO is that it's to take all of the power of your website. You guys remember, you have a website, you have content on there. The only problem right now is that you're essentially taking all of your juice and all of the power of your website and spreading it all over the place. And what we do and what we suggest you do is you take all of that and focus it on 2 or 3 keywords. And I'm going to show you the results of that in a second here.
Yeah, I would like you to show us the results on we discussed this before the call. I want you to pull up a couple keywords on Google and log out and say, here's what Capsule's coming up as. And I think like number 1 or number 2 or number 3 for a couple keywords that you really desire.
Yes. So yeah, exactly. So I'll show that to you guys. So original content. Now, keep in mind that before we do any of this stuff, before you start doing your original content, before you create your on-page optimization or links leading to your website, before you even move an inch, you've got to do your keyword research. So your keyword research, we did a video on that, and we need to figure out 2 or 3 keywords that are important to you. And it may be different than what you think. Google has some free tools out there that'll definitely help you with that.
Great.
So now let's go back to the blog articles and the original content. You want to make sure that you write great content, high quality. Google knows whether it was a college professor that wrote it or a 6th grader. It's one of those things that it just knows. Within your content, and I'm actually going to pull up one of my blog articles from Steveolution just so you can see what I'm talking about.
Great.
Within your blog, we're going to go straight to my blog.
Let me go ahead and share your screen and request permission to share your screen. Here we go. Okay, and we're back over to you in a sec. You may have to click a share your screen button. There we go. Okay. Back over to Ito.
Okay.
All right, we can see your screen now.
So we're gonna go to one of these. We're gonna go to one of these. What's it called? One of my blog articles, and I want you to see what we do here on our blog articles that are important.
Great.
So you can see that the blog articles all have good content. They all have images.
Yeah, we can't see it because actually you're scrolling too much. So you're gonna have to scroll, pause, and then wait 2 seconds, and then if you there you go.
Okay. Do you guys see my screen?
Yeah, we can. Now we can. As soon as you stop it, it shows it.
Okay. So one of the keywords that I try to focus on is a keyword called heat maps. And so you don't want to go too crazy with your keyword. But one of the things that you want to do is you want to have links within your own site that link to pages that sort of focus on that keyword. So let's take heat maps as a keyword. I have a page on my website that's sevolution.com/website heat maps. And then when I write a blog article, not every blog, maybe 1 in 5, just so it seems natural. Remember, you don't want to feel like you're spamming anybody. 1 in 5. I will write a blog article, and in that blog, no more than twice, I will have a link. You guys see that there's a word over here that's underlined?
Yes.
That links to my heat map page on sevolution.com. And over here, it says heat maps again, and that links to a slightly different page on my website. That links to my features page.
Got it.
So what I've done here is now I've written a blog article that has some good content on it. It talks about analytics and how to use heat maps. And then what I do is twice in that article, I link the word heat maps to a page within my own site. And what I've just told Google is that this article talks about heat maps and it gives some really good examples about it that are found on my website. And so now Google says, now, if I do this once, it'll make, a very marginal difference. But we write a blog article about every day on our site, maybe 3 times, maybe 5 times a week, 4 times a week. And 1 in 5, 1 in 6, 1 in 7 will link the word heat maps. So it looks natural. And every so often over the course of a few months, it starts picking up steam and Google starts saying, oh, you know what? Maybe this website really is relevant on heat maps, and starts crawling my site more and realizing that heat maps is probably an important word for me.
Very true.
So there's that. So that's sort of original content and how to do it. The second piece to a really important SEO strategy, we've talked about creating good title tags within your website. We've talked about naming your images properly. And I've talked about how important it is to create original content, and the easiest way to do that. That's through a blog.
Can you teach us what can I give an example of a bad title tag and tell me if you agree with this? I'd like to show good and bad so we all get an idea of what so you have the word heat maps highlighted right there. Use heat maps, as everyone can see from my cursor. If he said if the words click here to RSVP or click here to contact Ito Cohen, click here, and if you highlighted the click here and sent them then to your LinkedIn profile, the click here, Google would see click here and to linkedin.com/Ito Cohen, and then they think, oh, Ito Cohen, his keyword is click here.
That's right.
But what Ito is actually telling us is don't highlight the words click here. Highlight the words. Can you go to Media Leaders Team, actually, Ito, and tell me if I did this right? Media Leaders Team. Click on Agency in the upper right. You see that button up there? And then click over to Our Team. I want to show people what an H1 tag could look like. In the upper right, click Meet Our Team. And scroll down to, once you've clicked on that, do you see how it says Josh Oakes on LinkedIn at the bottom of that paragraph? I've tried to do the best I can, and if you were to click on that, it goes to LinkedIn. We don't have to click on it, but it says Josh Oakes on LinkedIn. Now, did I do a good job on that title tag?
Yeah, I mean, I think so. Well, this is not a title tag.
I'm sorry, not a title tag. My bad. But did I do a good job linking?
Yes. So internal links are very important, and this is sort of what we're talking about. Now, this is considered an external link. So this is a link that takes you to another website, which sort of creates a little bit of a different thing. But yes,
the way I set it up,
But if you were to, for instance, put on this page, if you were to put something along the lines of, you know, media lead or social media expert, right? If you were to do that on your homepage over here, right?
Yeah.
So if on your homepage you had a paragraph that said, meet our social media experts, and social media experts was a link, and it took people to
The Our Team page.
the our team page,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
That would be a really good example of an internal link within your website that's explaining what this page is.
Very
So
well.
what
Very
you've
well
just
said.
done, what you've done is you've told Google that this page is a social media is a collection of social media experts.
So, for instance, for a self-storage company that might be on the call right now, or some kind of a retail company,
Yep.
between their different pages, they could point to different packages they have, and their service would be the name of the text, and the link would go to one of those services or the different packages to sign up, and so on, so that Google sees if people search for that self-storage in Milwaukee, then that's the key, that's the link, and it goes to one of these packages. Is that correct?
Exactly. But you don't want to overdo it. You want to just remember what I said. You want to pick like three. Pick
Yeah.
like three keywords and you don't want to overdo the links. You just want to have maybe one on each page, two on a page. You don't want to go crazy with it. You want to you've got to just take a step back and think, if I get to tell Google three things about my website, what do I want to tell them? That's it. That's all you get. You don't get more than that.
Yeah.
So if I get to tell them three things, what am I going to tell them?
Good
And
point.
that's how you sort of use the internal linking.
Yeah.
So now let me tell you guys this. The content that you write is great. The internal linking and the on-page analytics, again, very important. The third piece here is you've got to get people talking about your website. And if you don't get people talking about your website or the blog articles that you're writing, then that work, it's not that it's not important, but everything I just told you is about 40% of SEO. The remaining 60% is, how do we get other websites, other people talking about my website? And I'm going to give you guys two really easy ways to do that. First, let me warn all of you. There are a lot of SEO companies out there that'll charge you, a few $100 a month or something like that to do SEO for you. I would be very, very careful with most of them, because, SEO is hard work, and you don't want to do something that's quote unquote black hat. Meaning you don't want to do something that Google does ban websites. If you do something that's not right, if people are buying links, if people are buying, social media buzz, lots of things like that, Google may ban your website. And banning a website is basically making you disappear off the internet, which is a really terrible thing.
So let me explain what Black Hat is. Remember how we went through Twitter Boot Camp? Everybody that's on this call can go back and watch the Twitter Boot Camp video. And you guys all know how much I tremendously dislike hashtags, because humans see those and go, whoa, we've got an issue here. It looks like there's a ton of hashtags. Is this a robot tweeting? Why are you so needy with the hashtags? And you're saying basically that Google sees that as well. And if you do any black hat stuff, which means going and paying somebody to link a bunch of fake blogs to your site, that Google instantly goes, hey, there's a bunch of red flags here. We're going to analyze this even more. This person looks like they're shady. They're fake. Yep. We're going to shut them out. Is that correct? Black hat means the illegal way, in a way, and the white hat means the old school.
At the end of the day, you want to do this naturally. Natural SEO sticks, and fake SEO does not stick. It does not last, and you have a very high chance of getting banned from Google. And we've seen a lot of companies. I actually have people call me all the time that say, "Hey, my website just got banned. What should I do?" And it's a little bit of, So you need to just be careful with that. Everything that you do, you want to make, as long as you're doing it naturally, you're not going to have any kind of. Everything I just told you is natural. So let me actually just tell you two ways now you can get natural links to your website.
Okay.
Are you guys ready?
Yes.
Okay. So we've talked about on page, we've talked about creating original content, and we've talked about creating internal links to your own website to tell Google what you're about.
I'm going real quick. Hold on one sec. Remember, everybody, how we talked to what are the biggest tips, the tactical takeaways. Remember, and this ties in with Ito. Remember my key takeaways from past videos? Great messaging is the key to making social media more effective, not technology, not fancy buzzwords. SEO is the same way. Old school writing good content. This ties in exactly with other stuff. Okay,
So
Ito.
now let's come up with an example. Let me just give you guys an example. Did you want to use like a self storage company as an example?
Yeah, I want you to go to Armor Self Storage.
Okay.
ARMOUR selfstorage.com, I believe it is. Just Google them. Yeah, go to Google and Armor Self Storage and see what comes up.
Okay.
And
so there you are.
There you go.
Okay. So let me go to this website.
This is a good example. Now, what Ito's going to show us, if you're in the ice cream business or if you're in any other kind of business, what you're going to learn from this Armor Self-Storage analysis is going to be cool. They're a great company, great services. They work really hard in four different states or whatever, 3 different states, 4 locations. But even if you're in another business and you're watching this video, in my book and in some of the world's best marketers will tell you this, adapt ideas from outside of your industry because I bet you they're finding great ways to touch your customers. And you need to improve not based on your competition in your industry, but you need to improve based on what other companies are doing. So let's look at Armor. Go ahead.
Okay, great. So I'm not going to go through an SEO overview of what the site has that's good, what it has that's bad. There's, but I do want to talk about content and how to get yourself found naturally. So my guess is that there are probably a ton of blogs out there about people who are moving, people who need more space, just in general, right? There's a ton of bloggers and blogs that write about things like that. So, and you could probably find them with some easy Google searches. Now, I see down here a really, really nifty thing, which is how much space do I need? Not sure how much storage space you need? Click here. So what I would do is I would create a blog article about how to determine how much space you need and how to plan for it, and something that's really useful for somebody that's moving. And I wouldn't publish it yet. I would go and find 10 or so blogs that we think are that get decent traffic, and that get decent traffic. Do you guys see my screen, by the way?
Yeah, we can see your screen.
Okay. They get decent traffic, and you can always check the traffic. You can use like a compete.com or any of these websites to see how much traffic somebody gets, and literally just contact the blog owner and say, hey, I just wrote this great article about how to figure out how much space I have. I'm happy to give you exclusivity on that article if you would like to publish it. And so now what you do is, a lot of these bloggers are always looking for guest bloggers. So, for instance, at Sevolution, we've just from reaching out to bloggers naturally like that, we probably have 50 or so bloggers in different spaces that love the articles that we write for them, for some of our clients. So now what you do is you go to these bloggers and you say, you might need to pay him like, 20 or 30 or 40 bucks, 50 bucks just for their time. But essentially what you're doing is you're providing them really great content that their readers will love. And in that article that you write, you link back to your website. So you would have, for this self-storage site, you would have something like the word self-storage or Phoenix self-storage, and that entire keyword is highlighted and linked back to your website, back to the Phoenix, Arizona page probably.
Great.
And so now you've got a great blog that's written a high-quality article that you basically wrote for them that's relevant to people in that space and links back to your website.
That's a clever idea. That's a very clever. Let's go look at their blog real quick.
Okay.
By the way, it's a very clean site.
Great. /blog. Awesome. Okay. So exactly. So you guys see, this is great. This is great content, making room for a baby. So there's a ton of baby websites out there, right?
Yeah.
So what you would want to do is put something together like this. It's probably a little bit longer, with a few images also that are labeled properly.
Scroll slowly, please. Or just stop scrolling. Thanks.
A few images that are labeled properly. and go to a few of these mommy blogs and say, hey, we're writing an article about the easiest and most effective way to make storage, or maybe something like what baby items are safe to put in storage, or how to wrap or how to package a baby goods so they don't get damaged in storage. Something that we think moms and would really enjoy.
That's a
You
great
don't
idea.
have to write the article yet. Just come up with the title and contact some of these blogs and say, hey, would you like me to write an article like this for you guys?
That's a great idea. Let's look at the bottom of this blog post. This is genius. Very counterintuitive how you're doing this. Notice the contact us online. Would you probably change that link to say contact Armor Self Storage?
Well, let's see where this takes us to. This takes us to locations El Paso, Texas. So what I would make this link is, what I would say is, you already have call us today at so and so and so and so, and what I would put here is something along the lines of contact El Paso Self Storage, something like that.
Yeah.
So now what you do is the contact El Paso Self Storage. You've now told Google that you have an El Paso, Texas location.
Yeah, and so anybody that's Googling El Paso, Texas self-storage, Google goes, wait, I've got a link somewhere. Let me go find it. Oh, yeah. Armor Self-Storage wrote that a few times in their blog. But if somebody writes contact us online, I think it's going to be hard for Google to know.
Now I'm going to tell you the second thing. So I've told you one way to get really high quality links. And by the way, it's one of these things where, at the beginning, it's going to be difficult to find bloggers and ones that are important. But again, it's one of those things, if you maybe just spend an hour a week, at the beginning, just reaching out. If you have somebody in your office that, that can reach out to some of these people and try to shop around some stories, you'll slowly build a repertoire of people that you've worked with in the past that enjoy your content. And, what you might ultimately have is you might have 3, 4, 5 different blogs where you're a regular contributor on once a week.
That's a great idea, Ido. What a great idea. Is that helpful to everybody on the call right now?
Okay, now number 2. So I've just told you how to create. Now what I just told you is a little bit. So that's very different, by the way, than buying links, right? People who just buy links and register you on directories and comment spam and all of that, those are things that are just not really going to be so helpful. But if you're actually linked with genuine good content from another website, that's the way to get this stuff noticed. Number 2, and this is sort of one of these things that people don't realize. People think that press releases are only important when something big happens. Press releases are the easiest way to get links from major websites, Yahoo News, Money. Like, think about it. And we're talking hundreds and hundreds of websites. Really what they do is they just pick up press releases. I would recommend using PR Web for press releases because it allows for the most SEO optimization and they get picked up by a ton of people. And I would recommend you do one press release a month. And I know that may sound like, what am I going to write about? But you know what? It could be something along the lines of, let's take self-storage. You can do a press release that's something along the lines of, Armor Self-Storage announces new.
Actually, I have an idea for them. You ready?
Yes.
The front of their self-storage building says self-storage, and they turned the S on self off around the holidays, around Christmas, and it says elf storage, as in Santa's little elves, and it makes the news. The news comes around. I actually thought it was a mistake, and my friend works there, and he said, no, the news, it turns into PR. We store elves for Santa, and it's adorable. But that could be a PR press release that's silly.
But my point is anything. And you want to make sure in your press releases, right? In your press releases, you want to make sure you link to your keywords. You guys want to see an example of one of our press releases that we did it?
Yes.
So let me just do a search for Steveolution on Google.
Can you guys tell I'm Ido's biggest fan? I'm like, yes, we want to see more. Is this helpful?
I'm going to go to news.
Put in the chat box if this is helpful while Ido's pulling that up. Look at that. He types in Steveolution. Perfect.
I went to news. So here's like one of our most recent press releases. Right? You can see, you guys see the links that we have here?
Fantastic.
There's one link. I didn't go crazy with the links. I put one link, and it's the heat map.
Great.
You guys see that?
Yes. And it goes over to steveolution.com. Great.
That's it. That's all I did. So now I have on several major news publications an article written about me with the word heat map linked to my website.
Genius.
Okay? Those are the two things. Don't go crazy with press releases, and don't make them spammy, and don't link to too many keywords. You want to just pick one. Now, do you guys want to see results?
Yeah, we want to see results.
So remember, we started with Capsule 3 months ago. They didn't rank for any keywords on Google at all. And we wanted them to rank for wedding photo app. So watch this. Wedding photo apps. Searching on Google, and guess what's number one?
That's great. Trycapsule.com, which is their company. That's great. They're even beating out the really big companies like Wedding Wire.
That's right. So Wedding Wire is a massive, massive, massive company. And they actually even have a page called Wedding Photo Apps. And Capsule beat them because Google realizes that that's really relevant content, and we organize their content. We organized their content, and we created some really great backlinks to their website with those keywords using some of the tools that I just said, getting different blogs, articles to write about them, linking those words, and creating a press release around it.
So hopefully you guys are seeing that. Remember how my social media tips are quite counterintuitive in the marketing and lead generation. Ito's showing us similar stuff. A few years ago, you could trick Google into spamming things and doing all these tricks, and that might have worked 3, 4, 5 years ago. But now it knows who's real and who's not. Imagine a Hollywood person that is an agent and they get tons of pitches a day in the elevator. They can cut through the stuff really quick and find out who's real and who's not. And Google's, I guess, telling us it can do that as well. Would you agree, Ito?
Yeah, that's exactly right. You just want to basically, guys, think about who you're competing with. And if we can just focus on just 1 or 2 keywords and take all of your energy and all of your efforts into focusing on those keywords and making it really simple and easy to read, and then getting people to create buzz around that. There's a few other things that we can also do. Maybe we'll go over them on the next call. But one of the other things that you can do is you can build off existing buzz that's out there. Capsule's doing that right now. If we go to the Capsule blog, for instance, you can see that this is probably a highly searched. This is probably a high buzzed, thing. The fact that Ryan Reynolds and Blake Lively. And I don't know much about pop culture, so I actually don't know who these people are. But
Ito, that's a big wedding ring. That's all I know.
I guess they tied the knot. So what they did was they posted an image, and they probably labeled it right, and they tweeted it out and tried to sort of ride some of the buzz that's already around off of this stuff.
That's great.
Those are some other sort of keyword tools and stuff, but essentially. With SEO, if it's something that you actually want to go after and you want to do, you've really got to spend time doing it and focus on it. And if you want to just sort of casually do it, make some of the changes that I suggested on the website, and see if you can become a guest contributor on a blog that that would be important for you. And those are sort of some of the easy things that you can do.
Well, we're gonna wrap this up right now, Ito. This has been incredible. So let's go back. I'm gonna go ahead and take over presentation sharing. And we're going to look at what we've reviewed today. First of all, we looked at the 3 pillars of SEO at the past video, which those can go back and watch. Original content, links leading to your website, on-page optimization. And today what you also taught us is there's no magic behind SEO. It's a lot of work. You have to know what you're doing, which means spend a little bit of time researching and actually doing it. Don't use black hat techniques that are shady. Remember, old school, keep it light, bright, and polite on how you behave online and what you write. The more hours you spend working on SEO, the better it's going to work. And we also looked at today, let me just review a couple of the things that we learned. H1 tags are the elevator pitch in the elevator, and Google looks on every page. What should I know about you with this 7 seconds that I have to spend time with you in the elevator? And then how you can label your images, the actual way that you save the image on your hard drive and then you upload it, that actually counts to Google. Because remember, Google is kind of like reading by Braille, and it looks at the title. It doesn't actually know what it said or the image contains. It counts on your actual text. And if you can tell Google 3 things about your site, what would they be? You can really only explain 3 things, so you got to be careful with those keywords. Ito also explained to us that press releases are a great way to get links, but you need to be careful. Not too many press releases, not too many links. Remember my other video about Twitter and how much I dislike hashtags because I think they're just overrated and people think that they are the end-all be-all, but old school messaging is the key here. And then PR web for press releases, maybe one per month, I think Ito said, or and image descriptions, we also discussed that. Make sure your images are described carefully. Make sure your title tags are correct. And Ito taught us, take your website like Armor Self Storage / and add the word blog onto it so that all of your blog entries are tied to your domain name so that Google sees you and all of your hard work on your blog entries as one entity. Ito, I want to thank you for coming out today. You're absolutely amazing.
I just want to add one more thing, guys, which is very important. If your blog is blog.yourwebsite.com and now you want to move it to the other end, make sure you do what's called a 301 permanent redirect for all of your subdomain links that are existing. You don't want your existing links that are out there and your existing pages to just be broken pages. So it's one of those things that a webmaster can do for you, but you want to make sure that you put a 301 permanent redirect on all of your links if you are to move your website on the other to the other end of it.
That's great. Now there's one more step. What are the next steps, everybody? If you've enjoyed this, number one, I want you to keep it light, bright, and polite in everything that you do online. I've got a book coming out soon that's going to be made available to everybody watching this video, so make sure you're on our mailing list. And next, if you want SEO, Ito is one of my advisors. Contact us, reply, comment on this page, or reach out to the Media Leaders team on the contact button at the top of this page. It's typically, Ito is the Rolls Royce. He's the one that gets results. He's the one I trust. He's $2,500 to $7,500 usually per month to run this for mid-sized to big companies. And that's what you should be looking at. And you can type this in the chat box or reach out to us and say, I want some SEO, Josh. Hey, I want to really thank Ito once again for coming out. This is really amazing. Thank you, everybody, for watching this video. SEO Bootcamp. We gave you way more than 3 tips. We gave you about 20 of them. I'm Josh Oakes, and I'll see you guys soon.